was one of the harder things about the sport. Like my dad told me a long time ago when I first started doing this, he was like, if you control what you eat, you control anything else in your life. And I believe that to be true. Like controlling what you actually put into your body and disciplining that area of your life is very difficult.
All right, guys, we are back for another episode in the exact same spot as our last two. Hopefully today we don't burn out another camera and battery like we've done every single time. And Eric is with us today. That maybe he's not going to have that happen because he's a very good luck charm. So welcome everyone to another episode of Mike for Success. Today we got a special guest. We got Eric Priest, that is a professional boxer, 4-0 with 3 knockouts. He's one of the top I won't say amateur anymore, top professional boxers up and rising in this industry, in the LA market and the worldwide boxing. And today he's going to come in and talk about all of his insight. A guy that came from Kansas, moved all the way to LA. We have the same friends group, and he's going to talk a whole lot of great things about boxing and things that I don't know and boxing fans love and want to know about. So welcome, Eric.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me, man. Really, it's awesome.
How's your day going?
It's good, man. It's good. Man, it's been a good weekend. A lot of training and stuff. Been a good week. Back at it tomorrow though. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. We're going to talk about that 6 a.m. workouts with a special someone that we'll get into.
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao is a little heads up. But before we get into that, we got to talk about our sponsor today, My Whistlebox. My Whistlebox is a doubly encrypted service that allows you to keep your private information safe and exchange information securely between parties. My Whistlebox offers you e-signatures, privacy, notes, whistle pages, a ton of other cool features, and a better alternative than email. So if you are using email to send or receive private information, stop and start using My Whistlebox. Sign up today to get started with your free account. No payment required. There is no reason to not start today. Happy whistling. Welcome, Eric. Welcome to Club Dub, or Club Raiden, I like to say. Yeah. We got the dogs here. We got Bailey and Lexi. I think Lexi's inside. Bailey's is chilling on the couch right next to you. And today you are going to talk about all the insight, everything that you've told me in the past of last week and a couple weeks ago when we first met, and a lot of cool things about boxing. So How about we start off with where are you from? Tell everyone who you are and everything about yourself, where you came from, that you're not originally from LA, you're originally from Kansas, and take it away.
Sweet, man. Yeah, so my name's Eric Priest. I'm a professional boxer. I'm from Kansas City, but now I'm based out of LA. I do all my training and stuff out here. Basically born and raised, not born, but raised in Kansas City, a place called Olathe. It's a cool community, man. It was great. But I was first introduced to boxing by my dad. He had some connections and stuff in the boxing industry, and he's ex-military. And so I think at a pretty young age, he was like, like my kids should, learn how to throw a fight, like learn how to throw a punch and learn how to fight. Not necessarily for like the competition aspect of things. I don't know if that was his initial thing, but it turned into that for me and my brother. So at a pretty young age, we were like wrestling and like learning how to like fight. Did a lot of mixed martial arts, that kind of stuff. Kickboxing to like jiu-jitsu to wrestling, and then boxing, obviously. And so that's kind of how I got into it. Yeah.
And for people that don't know what mixed martial arts is, I mean, everyone knows what boxing is, but there's so many types of fighting forms out there that all over the world people teach, they practice every day. Do you want to explain a little about the different types of fighting and one that you got into, mixed martial arts, like what that implies and how that made you the boxer you are today?
Yeah, so mixed martial arts is just basically like it's literally mixed martial arts. Yeah, so it's boxing, kickboxing, grappling, wrestling, all kind of combined together. And like that's initially what I started with. I didn't compete in MMA, but I just learned a set of skills. I was consistently competing in combat sports, but I really just liked boxing. It was just like, I think I was just the best at it for myself. I remember just like walking into a gym for the first time, and like they threw me in with this kid who had already had 20 amateur fights and stuff like that, and I just was like, all right, let's just go, bro. Let's throw it down, and I was cracking him hard, and he was cracking me hard too. So I learned that day I could take a punch and give a punch. But yeah, I mean, MMA is it's crazy, but it requires so much like different aspects and skills and stuff like that. Almost to the point where I think people without any skill can compete in MMA too.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like I don't know, like the UFC, like the top level of it. No, like obviously those.
It's like the McGregor fight that happened the other night.
Those okay. That's.
Would you say an average Joe gets into the ring with any of those two
okay.
dudes? Are they walking out alive or are they getting knocked out?
What I mean by that is like you see a lot of like collegiate wrestlers or something go into MMA after their wrestling career is over. They just dive right into that kind of stuff. I mean, they don't really necessarily have the stand-up game, but they like learn that stuff over time. So I think MMA is like one of those sports that you can adapt to, is what I mean by that. Rather than just like, I feel like a boxing or something. Like a lot of times, kids start at a pretty young age, and then they like stick with that one in that niche of fighting and combat sports, rather than like being a wrestler and then like learning kickboxing when you're like 19 or 20 and trying to get signed by the UFC by the time you're 23, 24. You know, that's what I mean. Yeah.
So like growing up, I mean, was your dad your inspiration? Someone that got you into everything, like you said?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Did you not want to try any other sports? Like, did you not throw you in basketball, baseball? I mean, what goes on in Kansas? Isn't Kansas big in what is I've never been to Kansas. What is good in Kansas?
I mean, Kansas got a lot of stuff. You know, KU, which is a big college in Kansas, is really big in basketball. Obviously, we have the Chiefs for football. At the time, the Chiefs sucked, but like now they're good. And then you have the Royals. So, I mean, like I grew up playing baseball and stuff like that, but like to me, like in the way that I was like bred, basically, like baseball was more of a hobby for me. It wasn't really a sport. And so I played hard and I was pretty good, but like combat sports were my cup of tea. You know, as a kid, I was like I want to be a champion, or I want to fight. I want to be a professional boxer. Like that's it, honestly. I didn't even like want to do MMA, to be honest with you. I just did it because it was like, I don't know, it's year round, you know.
It's a form of art to learn something new, and
for sure, yeah. And there's a physical aspect of it. There's a discipline behind it, and there's good stuff to know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, my dad was my inspiration, I would say, for sure. He pushed me hard, and I, you know, it it paid off, you know. Like it's like he pushed me, and yeah, so
that's awesome. Was there any point in time, as we get into high school, we're going to talk about high school in a second, that you learning all these skills, how to chokehold people, how to knock people out, how to grab handle and grapple, was there any moment that you're like, wow, if a kid messes with me, you know, in the middle school days when people are going through puberty and fights are happening, is there any time you punched anyone or a kid went up against you and you're like, hey, I know how to fight, I can knock this guy out in a second right now, but maybe I got raised right, like your dad probably told you use this in-house and not outside?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, like, if you went back and talked to like some of the guys I went to school with, I was like in middle school. Yeah, I got in fights. I specifically remember like punching this one guy. Actually, him and I are still in touch on Instagram now. Like many years later, I haven't seen him in years, but I punched him in the gut for like breaking my necklace in the gym PE locker room thing, and I ended up like bruising one of his organs or something, and like he went to the hospital, and like I got suspended from school. Like I was probably like 7th grade, I think, at this time.
You did that to a 7th grader?
Yeah, I was in 7th grade. I was fighting and stuff at that time. I mean, at that time I was starting to drift like more into like just specifically boxing.
I mean, knowing you right now, you seem like a good kid. Unless, I mean, I don't know if I've never pissed you off. I don't really know what it's like to piss you off. But did you want to be like that growing up, or if you're like, if a kid messes with me, I'll pop him? Like, why not?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been. I don't think I've ever been scared of another person. You know, just as far as the fighting aspect goes, you know. I probably wouldn't back down to anybody, even growing up. I think I had some insecurities and stuff, like at that young of an age, you know. I was just like, I was shorter than a lot of people. I grew late, so I think that came with you know, the way I looked at myself was a little bit different, and I found confidence in a lot of stuff in competing and fighting. But yeah, I still to this day, I don't think I'm just like the one just to like, you know, you're not gonna rip a necklace off my neck and without me punching you in the face for it, you know. But yeah, at that time, like. I've changed a lot. I've grown a lot. But I was just a kid with a set of skills, and like I was pretty good at it. But and I was boxing a lot back at that time. Like a few times a week, I was just punching stuff, and I was starting to drift more into boxing. Like as I entered into late middle school, and then like in high school, I really just, you know, locked in and bit down on boxing.
So what was the like daily routine? You're going into high school. We're gonna get into the Golden Gloves that you did in high school, and you're the champion of that during that time. But what was the day in the life of you going through high school? Was a lot of kids like myself, I woke up, I probably trained in the morning, I went to school, went to baseball or basketball, would come home, have a game or have practice, hang out with friends at nighttime. Fighting is a little different. I know it's an AM sport or PM sport in terms of whatever your schedule is. You're either there late or there early or super early. Was your high school experience a little different in terms of your friends playing other sports and then you boxing and getting into mixed martial arts?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understood like what in boxing entails. I think the closest thing to what a sport would be able to replicate what boxing as far as training goes would be wrestling, that type of schedule. So like before school, I would basically get up, before everybody sometimes, and I would go run at like 6 o'clock in the morning, go home, shower, eat breakfast, something like that, go to school, 7 hours, get back from school, try to take like a power nap or something, and then I would just go to boxing Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then after boxing, go home and probably like lift weights or like do some kind of like workout. And that was my routine every single day. And like on the days that I weren't boxing, which were like Tuesdays and Fridays, basically, like I was doing some other kind of conditioning. I was hitting the track with my dad, and like I was doing a lot of things. But every morning I would get up and run. I remember like I was just different than a lot of kids. I found like my peace of mind through my training, and it really kind of kept me sane. I don't know. People would be like, because in high school, nobody's doing that kind of stuff.
No, it's one of those things. Fathers or grandparents get yourself into that. Like, hey, I was a boxer, I was this, and just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, his son, he got himself into weightlifting and heavy lifting. Like, you don't get into that stuff unless your parents encourage you, because that's not a sport. You're like, hey, I see a paper on the wall about putting my kid in boxing. That sounds great. Of course, the wife's gonna say no, but how did that even work? Was your mom someone that was against it or wanted it?
I don't know. I think initially, I don't think any parent wants to see their kid get punched in the face, but like after a period of time, like at this point, she gets amped. Like she's stoked. She's like, yo, punch him in the face, like kick his ass. Like she's into it, man. But at the time, it was kind of like, hey, I don't want you to get hurt and all this stuff. And like even like nowadays, like I will get like not roughed up, but like my face will be scuffed up. I'll get black eyes and stuff, like sparring and training. My mom will like be like calling me. She'll be like, hey, are you all right? Like,
I need to take you to the hospital.
just checking in on me. She'd be like, I don't like it when you get punched in the face. I'm like, Mom, I'm trying to slip the punches. But it's,
just imagine some of the high school moms. Like I played with some kids. The kid gets knocked on the ground. The parents are about to run onto the court, and they're like, my son, no, your son's fine. You just got bumped a little. There's some parents that will flip out, and I guess your parents are pretty chill about it. They understand the consequences that might happen.
For sure. And like my dad's one of those guys, like if he hits you, like you just go hit him back, that's how I was raised. That's how we do things. So
that's awesome. So what about Golden Globes? Or not Golden Gloves, Golden Gloves. I keep messing that up. Golden Gloves. That's something that triggered your boxing career. You got into in high school. You want to explain to everyone what the Golden Gloves is, how you get into that tournament, and the outcome of what happened?
So the Golden Gloves is essentially like, besides the Olympic trials, is like the biggest amateur boxing tournament in the country. So I won the Kansas City Golden Gloves when I just turned 18 years old. I was senior. I was a senior at that point. So I'd been boxing for a few years and stuff like that. But at that year, when I competed in the elite men division, which was like the adult division. So your bracket's essentially 18 to 34. So your bracket's huge. You're fighting grown
18 to 34?
Yes.
Did you go up against a 34-year-old?
I fought one of the guys in my bracket was like 31 or 32. I remember that.
So you're like, I'm trying to prove myself. While these older guys are like, oh, I'm facing an 18-year-old kid. This is going to be great.
Yeah, like I'm a senior.
Kid hasn't even grown fully and knock him out.
Yeah. So it's like that. And the guy that I beat in the finals was a former 5-time Golden Glove champion. So he had won it 5 years going before me. And I remember at the weigh-ins and stuff like that, there's a little, there's kind of, you weigh in the back, and all the fighters show up to weigh-ins at the beginning, and he was like, I could hear him talking. He was like, oh man, like they should just, because I made it to the finals that day, which so like, you fight every single day, and I could hear him in the back, and he was like, oh man, they should just give me the belt again. Like it's not even like, I'm fighting this kid as a courtesy. He was probably like 24 or 25 at the time. I was an 18-year-old dude.
So what went on in the whole tournament? You said it was a 5-day tournament.
Yeah, no, so it was the national championship's a 6-day tournament. So it's Monday through Saturday. You'll fight 5 times.
For people that want to know, amateurs, you're wearing headgear and protective stuff.
So I mean, headgear only protects so much. It's like Yeah, you have headgear on, but it's a very thin headgear and it's open face, so you can get cracked, you can break your nose, you can do whatever.
So as a coach teaching you, what is the technique in terms of facing amateurs that have that headgear and all the other kind of support, like punch them right in the face?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, punch them fast and punch them hard, and try not to get hit. There's technique obviously behind it, like any other sport, but
And we'll get into that.
yeah. But yeah, you hit hard, hit fast, don't get hit. Amateurs different though, because it's only 3 3-minute rounds, so it's a 9-minute fight. So like you're sprinting, and like the whole, it's all about like points. Like you hit and try not to get hit, and like try to like control the pace and that kind of stuff. So it's just different compared to the pros where you get into like 4 round, 6 round, 8 round, 10, 12 round fights. So yeah, but a sweet experience, you know. But yeah, anyway, I ended up like completely dominating that guy in the finals. The guy who's won it 5 years in a row. He thought he was gonna just walk through me and kind of.
So when you won that, what happened? Winning the Golden Gloves is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Completely huge deal.
Yeah.
Did you get anything from that? Like, I mean, is your goal to play in college? Like, what is there college boxing?
Yeah, so not there is collegiate boxing, but not at like the NCAA D1 kind of like basketball level. So it's just different, yeah. But from that point, like it was my first introduction to like like endorsements and sponsors, like CBD and like that kind of stuff. Like people started reaching out to me about that. Oh, you won the Golden Gloves, like Korean American kid. This is kind of weird. So then I went on to like represent like Kansas in the national championships, stuff like that. Did decent in that. But that was really like my first like stepping my foot on that national stage, that like big stage. But from that point, like I basically was like, okay, I'm at this national stage. I want to start like trying to like my new goal. Like I want to like try to get on the USA team. I want to. That was my goal from that point. And then, but I just graduated high school and went on to go to college at the University of Kansas for a year.
Ooh, Jayhawks! Woo!
Yeah, man.
USC beat them in the March Madness. Woo!
Yeah. Okay, so that was a cool experience, man, like going to college and stuff. I didn't join a fraternity or anything. Almost did, but...
So you went from busting your butt all the way through high school and even before high school, doing 12-hour days, to now just going to college and not doing anything.
Yeah.
And just being a typical college boy.
Yeah, yeah. And
why? Was there no ambition going into college, or was your mom's like, you need to get an education first and then figure out what you want to do afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, I think coming from like a Korean family... Education's very important, you know. It's like, yeah, you go hard in school, but I was still training in boxing. But like, you know, when you get into college and stuff like that, it's so easy to get distracted with things. You know, you got people partying like every day of the week, and like something's always going on, and like, you know, you're doing school. School's a full-time job at that point. It was a difficult. So I was like preparing for these tournaments and stuff like that, like. Probably not as hard as I could have or would have if I was like, you know, completely focused on boxing and I mean, and not just little tournaments, but like USA qualifiers, like competing against some of the best fighters in the country, in the world even. And I was doing this like kind of like, you know, not really going as hard as I probably should have. I didn't have that same work ethic that I used to have when I was like living at home and my dad was up my ass, like, you know, you need to like be doing this and doing that, and you know.
You kind of got to turn off. You kind of like, you're pushing me. My head's in another place.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that. I went to college too, and your parent. I mean, that's the one time in your life you're finally away from your parents, and yours was your parents were coming after you saying you need to do all this stuff. Was that the turn off? You would say?
I mean, not even that. I think I was just like distracted. I think I was like, oh my goodness, like it's a life, man. Like, you know, it's there's so much stuff to do and like partying and like girls and this, you know, that kind of stuff. It's there. I mean, and so it's easy to get distracted, and I really kind of paid the consequences for that when I was like trying to compete in these tournaments. I think I had the talent and the skill to be able to go as far as I wanted to as an amateur, but I just messed up, you know, just got distracted. And so I basically ended up competing all that freshman year in 2 USA qualifiers, did pretty far, went pretty far, and ended up getting a jaw injury. And from that point, I was like, I was 19, about to turn 20, and I was like, you know what, like, I need to take a break from boxing. Like, I don't know what it was, but I'd been just competing in general, and like always had boxing in my mind, training for so long.
You're just mentally drained.
Yeah, I was just drained. And I was like, I don't really know. Like, I'm not getting paid for this as an amateur, and I'm taking blows to the face. Like, that's
Right.
you know, you kind of lose some motivation there.
And speaking of, I think that's a huge topic to actually talk about because I've grown up with kids where their dads who played professional sports push their kids through the limits and moms on the other side and vice versa. I've seen so many kids be stars of what they do and just burn out. Like 1 year, they just burn out. And I mean, it's hard to explain. I think it's the biggest mental state of that kid is just getting pushed so hard and doing everything where when he finally gets some free time to relax, he just realized how much better that is. And I think that's the burnout sesh where like, I don't want to go back to that crazy life.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for kids that are going through this every single day of training, or maybe they're a top prospect in baseball or basketball or football and their parents are pushing them, everyone's pushing them because they are good, but they're doing everything outside of what a typical normal high school kid would do, which go to high school. Probably these kids will wake up at 5 a.m. and train in a facility and all the other resources that a typical normal prospect wouldn't really have.
Yeah. Man, I mean, remember why you started, you know? And yeah, kind of you gotta find your why. For me, it was like, it wasn't just like my dad pushed me, but I was a psychopath a little bit myself, like just an absolute gym rat. Like I would train myself to like the point of just depletion. I was obsessed. I would think, sleep, eat everything around fighting or boxing or in the match or something coming up. It would literally like take control of my mind and my life. And so yeah, I think just as hard as my dad pushed me, I think I pushed myself just as hard. You know, my dad was by no means like a mean father in any kind of way in pushing. He was more of an inspiration than anything. You know, I really looked up to my dad. But you know, at the same time, he expects a lot from you. And so same thing with my mom. My mom wasn't even a boxing fan. My mom, like, you know, you go 100% in whatever you do. Whatever you do, you give it all out there. I don't care if you win.
What
lose,
was like the ambition of them? Like, was their goal? Like a lot of parents, my kid, bust your butt. You're going to college. You're getting a scholarship. Is there a scholarship for what you do?
Yeah, so actually, I did get the Golden Glove scholarship.
Oh, so there you go.
Yeah, so for my freshman year, I did go. Yeah, I did get that. But you know, you know, when you think of boxing, you look at the Mayweathers, the Pacquiao. You want the money. You know, the big bucks.
And when you're fighting every day and not getting paid a dime because you're an amateur.
Yeah, you're a kid, you know, and it's just like there's hard. You're cutting weight. Like I was doing things. I was cutting 15 pounds and stuff to get ready for fights. Like things that most kids wouldn't relate to unless you were like a wrestler or something. Like, and I wasn't getting like anything for it, and it was just, you know,
just pride. Just like, hey, I beat you. I'm the best.
I was distracted because it would be like I would be competing at this level of fighting and stuff like that, and I was just like, I was what you call like a GDI, right? So I was like goddamn independent, which means I was not in a fraternity, and so like all these like girls and all these other like people, they wouldn't pay attention to me at all, or you know, cause I was like,
you're not in a frat.
Yeah, but they love Chad from Phi Psi or like, you know, Sig Ep, you know. I'm like, come on, man, like this guy can like chug 20 beers, but I can like, you know, beat him up on like when I have the flu. Yeah. Like I don't know, it's just like, it was my mind was just in a weird place because you're surrounded by that lifestyle, you're consumed by it. But yeah, so I took a break from boxing, and
what was a recharge? Here we go. And now you graduate college.
Oh no, so I didn't graduate. So I'm actually still a student online right now.
Still a student?
Yeah, online. I took a break for a bit. You know,
but you got a fire that lit under your ass that basically was like, I'm getting back into this. What was it? What was that motivation of like, what I started, I'm gonna finish it, and I'm gonna make my parents proud and be the best in this industry that's ever seen.
Yeah. So dude, I dug deep in those like 6 months. I actually entered and I started working for my brother and stuff like that for a lot of stuff that he was doing. My brother's a big e-commerce guy. And I learned a lot about stuff. And I also realized that like that life really isn't for me. And so I like, there's a point where you realize like your purpose of why you are what you are. And like, I think I kind of dug deep and like I found, you know, like I can't look at Eric Priest in the mirror without like you seeing a fighter or something. I gotta be, you know, like for my own happiness, for my own mental sake, like this is what provides me with purpose and like fulfills my heart. And so I was like, you know what, like we're back into full throttle, and this time like I'm gonna try to take the next step. I'm gonna try to like go train with some of the best fighters in the world, not at the pro level. And so from that point, just was like, all right, I went out to LA and I wanted to be a sparring partner, like, or a training partner for these professional fighters. I was like, I'm good enough to hang with these professionals. I want to like just get some exposure.
And then you
know?
started boxing, and
Yeah.
then someone's wife noticed you.
Yeah, so Justin Fortune's wife, her name's Tamara Fortune, she noticed me at their gym one day and basically like set up a mitt session with Justin Fortune, who's world-class trainer, one of the trainers of Manny Pacquiao, trained 48 something world champions before, just that category of trainer. Set up a mitt session, for me and him, and it took about like one round or two with the mitts, and Justin kind of looked at me. He was like, "Man, how old are you?" And I was like, I was 20 at the time, and he was like, "Yeah, if you want to go pro, I'll take you pro," And I was like, "Sweet." So where do we start? So basically from that point, I went through basically like 6 months of training, of just basically proving myself and like relearning things and breaking old bad habits and like new techniques and just getting to that next level of fighting before they even like were like considered even letting me having my professional debut, which was in February of 2020, right before COVID.
Right. So what was he doing? So he takes you under his wing. What did he start off with for a kid that's like, okay, you just got noticed by one of the top trainers and one of the top people in this industry? What did he start off with? Was he like, hey, we need to get your conditioning up. We need to, get your boxing quicker. Like, I'm not a boxing person. Like, what did he do right out of the bat to get you kickstarted into the pro campaign of like being the best?
Man, he did what you're supposed to. He just put you with the best. I remember he was bringing guys in like ex-Olympians to like, top 10 in the world professional fighters like in to spar with me. Like these guys from Australia, all over the country, Russia. And you just throw me in there with them. Like, it's like, hey, it's like you like sink or swim, it's like you survive and you learn from that, and I would get black eyes, my face would be messed up, but I got good. And you're training every single day rather than like, 4 or 5 times a week. It's like every single day, sometimes even twice. And it was just a different level of stuff. Your conditioning, instead of training for 3-round fights, you're training for like 4 or 5, 6,
Did you guys have schedules where, hey, Monday it's training, Tuesday training, Wednesday you're going up against one of the other guys in the gym?
Yeah.
And then Thursday it's kind of recovery day, slow it down, Friday back to training, Saturday training, Sunday you're going up against another guy.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're sparring, and like the sparring days are different, it's like, oh, we got this guy coming in from Australia. Or like this guy's bringing his Olympian in from Russia, and you're like, oh god, like it's like you got, it's just crazy. And then like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday were just mainly conditioning days, technique days, and Sunday's the only day, and continues the only day that I get the break. So, but man, he pushed really hard, and when you start training with like trainers like that, it's
It puts you in a different mental state.
yeah, dude, it's just
You are with the best.
Yes,
There's no better. It's
yeah.
listen to this guy and learn from him.
Yeah, you don't question somebody like Justin. You don't. If he tells Eric, you gotta go do this. Like, I'm okay. I'm gonna go do it. No hesitation. You tell me.
So what about this? Is there any moment that maybe you just being a young kid, how young kids talking to older professionals, they say, hey, don't say something stupid. Did you ever say something dumb to him where you're like, oh, that's not a question or comment I should have said back to him, and now he reacted in a certain way? Like something you're like, okay, he's a friend, but he's not a friend.
Yeah.
And maybe I shouldn't have done that, or some rookie mistake where working with him.
Yeah, I think one time when I was getting ready for my first fight, I asked him like a few times about like how I should be cutting weight, how I should be like doing the weight drop from like 175 pounds to 160 pounds. And like he told me, oh, we're gonna do it this way, and I was like, oh, but I've never done it that way. And he was basically like, all right, well, if you want to go to your way, you can go like fuck off back to Kansas. And I was like, that's
like,
the last.
Sorry, dude.
I was like, that's the last.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I was like, I take it back, man. Like, so.
Was there any moment fighting with these guys, training them right out of the bat, that you faced a opponent like a top Olympian or world class guy in the world where you went up against them, they popped you and knocked you down? You're like, oh my gosh, like that's the first time I've ever been actually smacked. Like I've never been hit harder than that. Any moment like that?
Actually, I not like.
Kind of like a veteran going against you. You're like, okay, now I know what it's like going against one of the top. I need to train to learn how to dodge this or their moves.
Yeah, I not like I've never been knocked out in my life. Actually, true story. But I got hit one time by Gabriel Rosado, and it was like I think it was the first time I got hit, and I was like, whoa, like I kind of like and he's actually coming off a super big win, crazy highlight knockout, hits like a truck, but yeah, he caught me one time, and I was like, whoa, dude, like that. I've never felt like that before. My legs are kind of buzzing, I got to keep my hands up. I'd gotten lazy and a little bit tired in the sparring session, so I kind of started dropping my hands and started lunging at him a little bit, and he just timed me and like just clocked me right there. But I wasn't knocked out or anything. It was just like I was like, whoa, okay, I feel funny, but all right, like just give me a second, and then we actually continued sparring right after that. But yeah, it's just besides that. No, I mean, obviously, like you're competing with like the best fighters in the world. Like they're gonna some of them are like better than you at this point in your career. They got like 15 to 20 fights, and you have like 3 or 4. Like they have years and years on you.
Right.
But that's the only way to get better. You only grow by like going against guys that are better than you. So, yeah, like there's nothing to be ashamed of when you're going against like a former world champ or something like that. It's like you're doing at that point you're doing nothing but learning.
Right.
So
what about working with Justin, where a kid listening right now would be like, give me some advice that Justin gives to you, any insight that you can give that Justin's like gives you every day. Hey, keep your hands up, maybe jab this way. I don't know the moves or what you guys say, what they are, but any Justin advice you would give to some kids who are getting in the boxing or training and would like to know what the best give you?
Man, a lot of pivots, a lot of strength, like range of motion, flexibility, slips, head movement, the whole shebang. It would be really hard to like kind of like give like technical insights without like showing somebody, but yeah, a lot of active mobile strength is really really important. A lot of technique, the pivots of your feet every time you're throwing a punch, to your hips activating, because a punch is essentially kinetic force from like your feet, from your legs to your hips to your upper body to your arms, and how to utilize the most of that,
Right.
rather than just throwing an arm punch. It's like throwing a baseball without even like using your back and your legs to like
You get no power through it.
exactly, or hitting a baseball, without turning your hips. And so it's a lot of that type of stuff. Yeah. So
That's super cool.
thanks, man.
Like, I if I stepped in the boxing ring with you, I don't know what's gonna go. I'm probably be sent to a hospital. But let's get into Manny Pacquiao's team. Is a team now you've recently been training with and been training for a little bit. You've been waking up at 7 a.m. like you're gonna do tomorrow, maybe 6 a.m. and start running miles and miles and miles. You're all over media with him on his pages, and people are noticing who you are, and you're training with the best of the best. What's it like training with Manny Pacquiao, his team, everyone around him? What have you learned, and what motivates you about being with this whole team?
Dude, he's a machine. He's a machine. It's like you look at a person wake up every day and you watch him train the way that he runs, and somebody that you've only seen videos of, but before as a kid you watch Manny Pacquiao. I mean, the dude had the dude was fighting professionally before I was born. He's been owning the game for like 4 decades. So it's like yeah, you see him train and how hard he trains, and it makes sense why he's so good at what he does. It's like we were running actually 2 days ago on Friday, and like right as we run the same route every single day, up this giant mountain thing and then back down, and
Huffing and puffing.
yeah, we're all dying and stuff like that, and then we get back down. We usually do conditioning and stuff like that, and the media and people were there watching, but this time like we got to the place where we usually turn back around and go to the loop, but this dude just kept going, and we're like, okay, we're not questioning Manny Pacquiao, so we just kept going with him, and basically we went on to run almost about 8 miles.
8 miles straight?
8 miles straight, yeah.
I can only go 1.5 miles, and I'm like on the ground. Give me an ice bath.
Man,
8 miles?
I was hoping this dude would trip or something to let me go catch my breath, like hopefully you gotta break down and like tie your shoe so I can just, catch my breath. But he's just, and he's doing this at 42 years old, it makes you, like, what was he like when he was like 30?
Hey, he's running 16 miles. And
Yeah.
you're at mile 8, like, call 911.
Yeah, I mean, he's a beast, man, and I'm excited to see him fight. It's nothing more than like an absolute honor to be able to work with like one of the greatest fighters of all time. And if he wins this fight, there will actually be like no question if he's the greatest fighter of all time. There will be nobody who's done what he's done in the sport.
Is there anything mentally that Pacquiao, while training with him, he's maybe told you, or just you've learned off of him about his mental state and his mental aspect about going after training every day and going after, his technique? Anything you've learned where you implemented into your own boxing routine?
Yeah, there's something that he said, not to me, but like in something that I've watched in the past that has stuck with me for like years and years. And it was, if you train hard, the fight's easy. Like the hardest part of boxing in itself is the training aspect of it. It's the early mornings you get up, the extra round you do when you're sweaty and you can't breathe, or then if you do all of those things correctly, like essentially the fight's a short period of time. All of that stuff's easy, but the training aspect for like 8 weeks straight, that's the hardest part. So like. Boxing is essentially 90% training and 10% fight, but the 10% is obviously just as important as the 90%. But it's like, that's really stuck with me. So every day when I train and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, if I train hard now, the fight's gonna be easy. Obviously, not easy, quote unquote. It's it's obviously hard. Getting punched in the face, but like it's, the hardest part is Do
you feel the hardest part about boxing when you're in a match, like a 5-round match, is the conditioning part? Like that's why you push yourself so hard, where it's not about the skill on both sides. It's about who's mentally and physically still standing and able to throw punches, because your guys are going at it for how many minutes are each round?
Yeah, so right now I'm a 4-round fighter, but it's sort of 3 minutes each round. But I'll go up to 6 rounds here pretty soon, about a fight or so.
You say it's the hardest part? What I've seen for boxers, they're just gassed.
Yeah, conditioning is so important. It's an endurance sport. There's not a timeouts. If you get tired and somebody's punching you, they just keep punching you. You know what I'm saying? So like. There's no break. If you don't work hard, there are physical consequences to not being in good shape. Like you get your face punched in for not working hard. But yeah, I mean, it depends. So like, it depends what kind of fight you're in. If you're in a fight where you guys are both just sluggers and you're gonna keep slugging it out, there's not too much technique to it, then like obviously it's the conditioning that's gonna matter, the most. But if you're in a very technical battle, when you get in those longer rounds and stuff like that, it's like who's in shape to maintain their technique, to be able to keep their hands up, to keep their speed fast, to keep throwing hard punches, not sloppy, wild ones. When you get tired, so conditioning is very, very important. But at the professional level, technique is just as important, I would say.
Right. And speaking of conditioning, from body parts and muscles, what do you say is the most important thing to train? I know you guys do a lot of ab workouts. You guys do a lot of conditioning and running for your legs and stamina. Like, what is the most you would tell a kid, focus, if you had to focus on a big body component, maybe your legs, because that's where all your power comes from, what is it?
Oh, man.
Jump roping to stay quick?
I would say legs.
Legs?
I would say legs and hips, yeah. Upper body is obviously important. You got to keep your hands up. Your shoulders got to be strong. Plus, you're taking hits in the upper body, so you need some durability there. But legs, if your legs get tired, you are completely screwed. Like you stop moving, you stop turning when you punch. You have no power. Like I said, the kinetic force from your legs to the full range of motion. Like legs are everything. But it's hard to say, honestly. I think it's a full body sport. It's like swimming or something, man. Like I work out my neck, because if I'm taking punches in the face, my neck has to be strong to be able to.
How do you work out your neck?
Man,
was it roll around in a circle?
Yeah, the wrestling, that kind of stuff. You like
put like weights on.
Yeah, I mean, you got seriously, man. Yeah, like you like roll on your neck like from like different poses and stuff, and then you like hang your neck. And you kind of lift them up like that, and people will have like weight. It's like it's like a little like leather strap that goes around your head with a chain and like a weight, and you kind of just lift it up, and you just work these different parts of your neck. So when you get hit, your neck doesn't budge. It like will catch itself. Otherwise, I mean, people.
I did not know that.
People get hit so hard. People punch so hard in this sport. And even like, all you do is punch stuff. Like you start learning how to hit really hard. Like you can break your neck, man. Like if somebody hits you hard enough, like your neck spits around. You have to have muscle in your neck. So
listen, kids, start flexing your neck, and ladies are gonna love it. Just start doing neck rolls, because apparently you can get paralyzed from getting knocked in the neck.
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah. So, there's a lot of weird exercises that you do. I know, like Mandy gets hit with a bamboo stick. It creates
whoa! Manny gets hit with a bamboo stick?
Yeah. So
what is that? What's the purpose of that?
So I guess it like dates back to like 2,000 years of like Chinese torture or something like that. It's like they take this bamboo rod and like they hit it on his ribs and like different parts of his body up to his arms and stuff.
So they're getting whipped?
No, it creates these like micro fractures that harden up and like callous parts of your ribs, as well as building the pain tolerance. Because in boxing, you're not just punching each other. Sometimes you take a shoulder into the eye, or like you take an elbow to you're just kind of moving, and it's a rough, aggressive sport especially when you're inside with somebody. Your pain tolerance just has to be higher, or else like you're gonna get like hit once and you're like, oh my god, it hurts so bad. And that can't happen.
Right.
So it's just building that tolerance. So people have different methods for different things.
Do you have any weird methods? Bamboo stick 2.0?
No, I mean I used to do that when I was a kid a little bit. I would just like take a stick or something and like try to harden my shins up or like my forearms and but weird methods. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Nothing your dad maybe was like, hey, this is what I did, this is what you're doing in the family. We're keeping this as a tradition. Some weird thing.
No.
No,
not really.
Conspiracy theory? Any like rituals?
I do like weird stuff. I'll be like when I'm like tying my shoes, I only tie them in the certain way. Like if I do not tie my shoes in a certain way,
you're like I gotta do it all over again.
If I don't do my left foot before my right foot, about like that kind of stuff. Like if I'm not too big. I'm not like what's the word like
superstition.
Yeah, I'm not superstitious like that much, but like I am with little stuff. I'm like okay, like I need this person to be there, or like this, like I need to like listen to like these songs in a row. Before I get ready to like, go to war. But
that's pretty unique.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are like full on superstitious.
I've heard people that if they don't put on a mitt the right way, or boxing mitt, glove, what do we call it? Boxing glove, it's like over. It's like there's a weird thing. Someone has to do something like an hour before, maybe it's sleeping for 20 minutes. I don't know. Like there's weird things.
Yeah, especially with like, I mean, all kinds of athletes. Like I know track athletes that like have to wear the same pair of socks every time they go up, or like that kind of stuff. Or like
I don't think I had any in base. No, I did. I would swing. I would warm up the same way. I would hit before a game the same way. And when I went up to bat, we always have like those weird swingy things we do with our hands.
Yeah.
Like, every single time there's a pitch, we do this weird like take off the gloves. I always like tighten my gloves.
Yeah.
Or put my hand through my hair. But
yeah,
I don't know if that's really. That's just a habit.
Yeah, I mean at that point it's a habit. But I mean, there some people are big on that. So I mean. Whatever works for you, I guess.
Speaking of habits and backgrounds, you are a Korean American boxer, something where you're not just American, you have a full fan base in Korea. And I want you to tell everyone about this, about having the fan base on both sides, who you're actually fighting for, because you're fighting for to be the best Korean American boxer in the world. What's it like? What's it like being a face of a country that you can represent?
Oh man, it's I think it's something as a kid I grew up in Kansas City. There's not very many Asian people or like Korean people. There is a small community of them, which I was close to. But it's nothing. It's amazing. It's like something I embrace really a lot now in my life. It's. There's some sort of like obligation to represent your community and your country well, as one of regards to the Korean people. Obviously I only have on my mom's side, but like that's a big part of me. That's a lot of who I am, and it's a way I identify as myself. And so it's great. There's really like you said, there's not very many Korean boxers in the whole scene.
Is there anyone at the top that is a Korean boxer, or are you the highest?
There's another half Korean boxer. His name's Brandon Lee. He's pretty good. I don't know him personally and stuff like that, but we have some mutuals, and he's a good fighter.
Give it 6 months, you'll be friends with him.
All right, it'd be cool, man. But yeah, it's like there's not very many, and predominantly Latino and like African American sport. It's just like I don't know. There's not very many of us, so there is like some pressure to like be able to like you want to be that guy, know. And I fully plan on being that guy, and not just the best like Korean American boxer. I want to be one of the best at one point I want to say I'm the best in the world at this.
Right. And you also talked about how some of the Koreans up in South Korea have DM'd you and messaged you, and
it's crazy, man. Like yes, I'd be on my phone.
Do you know how to speak Korean? And
I can understand it. Speaking it is a little bit different. It's a little bit harder to speak it.
I assume they're speaking to you in Korean, and what are you doing back?
Yeah, actually, a lot of times they'll message me in English.
Oh, really?
It'll be like scattered English, and I'll kind of like piece words together, and I'm like, oh man, thank you so much.
Put in Google Translate.
Yeah,
This is what they said.
Well, yeah, I have so much family over in Seoul on my mom's side that I could probably, if they did send me something in Korean, I could probably send them over to them and be like, hey, what did they say again? Because I can't read it, but my mom and growing up, she would yell at me in Korean, so that's how I understand Korean. Yeah.
Is there any top boxing circuits that happen in South Korea?
Not that I know
Or
of.
is boxing pretty big over there?
Boxing's big in Japan, but Korea.
Imagine how cool that'd be. You become one of the best in the world, and you're hosting a boxing match with one of the biggest boxers in Seoul.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be very cool.
That'd be an honor, man. That'd be really cool. But yeah, hopefully one day we can enter more into that area of life. So yeah.
All right, let's take it back to your fight in December with Ring City, USA. What was that experience like? You're a professional now. You're fighting some of the top fighters in the world, and take it away. You knocked some people out.
Yeah. So I at that point in December I was 3-0. I was training with some, like you said, some of the best fighters in the world. At the point I'd logged in 60 rounds with super middleweight contender Gabriel Rosado. So I was ready to go. And so I got. Yeah, and I knocked him out. It was my first time really on like the NBC Sports Network, where it was, it was like streamed on.
First time on TV.
Yeah, it was crazy. I had like a bunch of people. I honestly didn't even realize people in my hometown were watching this fight. I gave like a few of my homies like the link and stuff like that, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna be fighting on this. And I posted about it on Instagram, but I didn't no idea people were really
like kept up with you.
Yeah, and it was the first time was people were throwing like watch parties and stuff, and I was like, what? Like I didn't see this until after I was done fighting, but I was like, man, like good thing I knocked him out, like so.
Did you like? I always wonder, do pro athletes, when you see yourself on TV, do you like rewind it and like just watch the TV broadcast? You're like, okay, let's just watch the broadcast view of me fighting and critique myself.
Yeah,
because I know you got video on yourself, but just from a broadcast view, what the announcers are saying, and just you kind of listen on what the fans and everyone around you is looking at.
Yeah, oh for sure. Yeah, I rewinded and I'd be like, oh, what did he say again? Did he get like, oh, okay.
Did he call me this?
Yeah,
You say my name right?
I mean, there's a certain extent to actually, I think, a healthy amount of like actually indulging yourself in critique and like only like critiquing yourself. You don't want to over critique yourself, or otherwise you would just like feel bad for yourself. You got to give yourself a win here and there. But yes, I do like to listen, because at that point, I actually in that fight, former world champion Sean Porter was actually commentating the fight, and I was like, this is kind of cool. So I want to kind of hear what he wants to say about me. But it was a cool experience. I got to meet him afterwards and stuff like that. But yeah, I do go back and watch sometimes, especially when you're creating like a highlight reel or something.
And then speaking of that, which you'll talk a little bit about, you had Adidas approach you and signed with Adidas.
Yeah.
And I want you to explain what's that like, signing with Adidas and being a boxer for the Adidas brand. Or what do they say in Europe? They say Adidas.
Yeah.
It's the different way that the
Adidas,
Europeans...
Adidas.
I went to Europe and they're like, you're saying it wrong. But what was it like being signed with Adidas? Adidas?
Yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah, so after that fight, I was approached by Adidas, like you said, and it was cool, man. It was like, how to explain it? It's like Adidas and like Nike, and like it's like that level of athletic company. It was really cool, actually. It somewhat at that moment in my career, it was like, okay, like we're doing something, like we're really, this is becoming something. This is actually probably after that fight in December, I was like, this is actually like, this is the real deal. It really hit me, and I was like, we're signing with big companies now. Our name's starting to get out there.
Finally getting paid.
We're making some noise, Yeah. So yeah, it's Adidas is like, it's a great brand. It's awesome.
Do you recommend like these sponsored brands that reach out to you? Because I know, do sponsor brands reach out to you about promoting their product? As an athlete and a kid to look forward to, this was something in high school. You're like, I'm not getting paid for anything. You're at the point you're getting paid. Yeah. You're getting paid by brands to wear things. Are you a type of athlete where you're going to wear something you actually like and not just wear it for the money? Because that's a question a lot of athletes get.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'll give you $1 million to rep this brand. And you're like, I don't like this brand, but it's $1 million. Sure.
Yeah.
Have you had any brand deals where you absolutely love their brand and you're just a good sport about it.
Yeah, I really like Adidas. Honestly, I really like I like their clothes and stuff like that. You know, and Nike's also really cool. But I really like Adidas. Their brand, like the way they communicate, they treat me as an athlete and stuff like that.
Also, Adidas with boxing just looks cool. Like their shoes,
Adidas,
I'm a huge Adidas fan with their shoes.
yeah,
So
yeah, it was
nice
sweet.
and light.
Dude, they give me like these track suits and stuff. You know, like I look like I'm from like the UK. You know, I feel like I'm a soccer player. You know, it's but. That is a big question though. You know, some athletes like don't like a brand, but they're gonna sign with them for whatever they give them. I don't know. I don't think I'm like that. I don't think I'm like that. I think a brand necessarily has to replicate you or like kind of like has to represent you,
Right.
and you shouldn't just do that for money or anything. You shouldn't sell yourself short.
All right. So boxing is a humongous mental state. It's probably the number one sport that, other than golf and a couple other sports, that revolves the mental game to be strong. You have a different philosophy that you've gone through of being very mentally strong at the beginning, going through a side of I'm giving up boxing to now getting back in and training with the best and having a different mental state than you did when you were younger. Let's talk about that. Let's get deep and dive on how to be mentally strong in this industry, what you go through every day, what it's like when people say you suck, and getting over that, and maybe you lose a fight. How do we get into that? What is your mental state, and how do you get better at that?
Well, preparing for a fight, you're preparing essentially in your head a modern day gladiator sport. You know, somebody is equally training, probably just as hard as you, to hurt you, and there's an uncomfortable feeling that comes with that, and like I said kind of before, like if you don't train hard in the sport, you're gonna get hurt. You know, and if you don't want to hurt people, then like you're in the wrong business, really, because you're gonna get hurt. And not necessarily, I don't want to like take somebody's life, but you know, this is a sport and this is the hard business, and so I want to inflict as much pain as possible on another person, like legally, and win, and you know that's what it takes to win. So, with the I don't know. I think I was just like growing up. I was, like I said before, I was very different than a lot of other kids. You know, most kids want to pick up like tennis or baseball or basketball. You know, and boxing is just a different type of sport. It's just like you said, even like a lot of parents probably don't want their kids getting punched in the face at a pretty young age, and I think there was some kind of tick about me, and not that I loved violence. But I was obsessed, like physically obsessed to the point where like there was no other kid actually I don't think that was like training harder and whatever they were doing than me. Like you don't hear about 13-year-olds getting up at 6 a.m. to like go run and then like run again at night. And if the 13-year-old can't sleep, I remember being like 14 years old and like it would be 3 o'clock in the morning. If I couldn't sleep because I had a fight coming up, or something was going on, like I would just get up and go run, or go in the basement and work out. At age like 10, my dad threw away every single TV we had in our house, and he
Wow.
replaced every TV with a workout machine, and he called it my PlayStation. Like a dip bar and a pull-up bar and push-up, like that kind of stuff. So I didn't have any technology and stuff growing up. That I was like, you're not gonna be raised like, you know, glued to a TV. So I was never good at video games. And
Did you ever watch, like, even at friends' houses where you were like, hey, I'm coming over, I really want to watch TV, I don't have a TV at my house?
Yeah, not really, not really. I mean, I had some neighbors in like the colder sect that I live in, but yeah, like my mom's on board too. You know, you're gonna work hard, you're gonna study hard, you're going to learn how to hurt people, and that's how it was. So I learned how to work out at a very young age and how to push my body physically. And through physical, like, you know, pushing myself physically, I learned how to push myself mentally at the same time. Like I learned how to take that next level and how to like enter into that that next level mentally when you're tired and you don't think you can go harder at a pretty young age, you know. And so those types of things I think were the big differential in this place in my life right now that like made me stand apart from a lot of people who were just like would say, hey, I'm giving 100% in my sport, but like you don't really know what 100% is, you know. It's the little things that really add up over time, you know.
Right. Would you say kids out there, I grew up with video games, my parents were like, get off the video games or we're grounding you. It was like that bad. I was playing MLB The Show and 2K and Madden. I got into Call of Duty. I suck at it. But I'm not going to lie. I got kind of chubby during the middle school days, and I flipped a switch also. I was like, I want to be yoked. I want to be ripped. I want girls to like me in that aspect and not be a fat kid. And I actually gave up video games, and my whole life changed. You actually cut that out at a very young age. For kids that are playing video games every day, media is probably the number one consumption of what we do every single day. Do you recommend don't even look at media other than looking at for school and different purposes and maybe watching yourself? Do you feel people would be a lot better at what they do if they just cut out media and cut out electronics and focus on what they need to focus on?
I feel like it would be beneficial to limit media. I don't necessarily think social media is unhealthy. I think it's a very beautiful platform in which you can reach a big audience and connect people. But at the same time, like, there is something unhealthy about having somebody view every part of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like kids, even me, up until like a certain age where like social media became more predominant. Like I wasn't like nobody. Not every action that I did was like viewed to like 10,000, 12,000 people. You know, it's like not everything that you do should be like viewed to that many people. You know, like some things it's unhealthy, I think. And for kids growing up nowadays to be like everything that they do is on TikTok or something. You know, it's completely exposed to the public. I don't think that's necessarily healthy. And on top of that, since it is public, like obviously you're thinking about other people think about you. You're having critiques of yourself, and you're also seeing other people, right? So you're comparing yourself to all these other people, and I don't think that's healthy either. I don't think you're comparing yourself to anybody else is ever healthy. I think everybody's on their own path in their own way, and I don't know if it's good or bad. I think it depends on the person and what.
It worked for you. It worked for you cutting all that stuff out.
Yeah.
And you say you probably would probably be the same even with it.
Yeah. I think it just depends. I think it is a distraction though. I think as people, I think our attention spans have decreased quite a bit. I mean, we can't even watch baseball games anymore on TV because they're too slow.
Ratings are going down.
Yeah, and so it's just like because we're surrounded by like flashes, technologies, and notifications, and this and that and that.
If you have kids in the future, if you plan on having it, you think you will grow your kids the same way you did, or will you implement electronics? Not that you have to make that decision right now, but from what you've been raised on and seeing your friends, Ori, we're talking to you, buddy, on electronics 24/7, and Ethan calling you guys out.
Yeah.
But do you feel you would put your kids having phones at a young age? And I mean, who knows what's going to be in 20 years?
I mean, as far as phones and stuff, for sure. But I would try to limit myself. I'd limit my kids from like full-on exposure to like public for quite a while. I don't think that's healthy. I would like them to grow within themselves and like learn more about themselves before learning about other people. Obviously, you need social and human interaction. I believe having friends and a lot of connections are healthy. But I think it's important to grow within yourself without comparing yourself to a million other people on a social media platform.
Right.
And I think it's it's a huge distraction. I want my if I ever have kids, I want them to work hard. I want them to have work ethic, discipline, polite manners, be productive people. I'd probably be pretty chill about it for the most part, but yeah, they're gonna know how to work for sure.
Hey, good dad coming here. I can already feel it. I'll say that. But I guess the one question that I forgot to say earlier, we'll say right now, and I think a lot of people want to know is when you're training for a fight, the biggest challenge is the weigh-in, from what I've been told. And cutting down your weight, maybe 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 2 pounds, maybe gaining weight. It seems unhealthy. I know models and people out there have to lose weight for shoots, but this is different. You have 3 days to lose a certain amount of pounds or gain a certain amount of pounds, or you get disqualified. What is that like? I mean, starving yourself or sauna. I want to know. I think a lot of people want to know. Do you enjoy it? It doesn't seem like it's fun. Why did they do that? Like, what is with this weigh-in and killing your guys' selves? I'll just say that.
Yeah, it's man. Okay, first of all, I do not enjoy it. Just getting that out there. But I mean, it's I probably would say it was one of the harder things about the sport. You know, like my dad told me a long time ago when I first started doing this, he was like, if you control what you eat, you control anything else in your life. You know, and I believe that to be true. You know, like controlling what you actually put into your body and disciplining that area of your life is very difficult. Um, and yeah, so right now I fight at 160 pounds, and I probably walk around at 176 pounds right now. Um, Usually, so I've been heavier. I've been up to like 190 and stuff before.
Is it easy to cut out weight? Like, what do you do?
So basically, in a training camp, it's usually 6 to 8 weeks, right? So essentially almost 2 months. You start off by eating clean. You start eating clean, and you're running so much. And boxing, like you said, like we talked about before, it's a huge endurance sport. So you're burning a lot of calories and whatnot. But
You're not
like,
putting as many calories in as what your
yeah,
first start is.
you basically start just eating clean. You cut out all of the shit food. You know, like you're not eating chips and stuff like that. I mean, like I have some guilty pleasures, bro. Like candy, dude, it will end my life. But like, you basically cut out a lot of that stuff. So you're eating like clean foods, and from that point, like maybe after a week or so of like the cardio and all that stuff, like you check your weight again. And usually, like if you cut out gluten and like a lot of sugars and you're detoxing your body naturally, you'll lose like a good amount of weight. Just like you kind of get to this baseline weight where your body is like healthy, it doesn't have extra like stuff it's holding inside, like bloating, any kind of water weights, it's like that kind of stuff, and like salts, extra stuff, and you kind of just hit this like certain weight, and mine's usually around like 174, 172 to 174 ish, kind of floats around that range. Then from there, it's like, okay, well, then you're going to make your portion smaller, you know, based on like how much you're training and stuff like that. You continue eating clean, but your portions are going to get smaller. Clean foods like broccoli, rice, asparagus, grass-fed, you know, chicken, red meat once or twice a week, salmon, like healthy fats, you know.
Avocado.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Your body needs fats. It needs like garlics, like onions, and that kind of stuff. So it's again sorts of like small portions and that kind of stuff, and then maybe like as the fight gets closer, you know, you keep making it smaller, and then eventually you hit this point where it's like you're not eating much, but you have to eat in order to train. Still, you know, it's like you have to, or otherwise you're not gonna have energy.
You just collapse.
Yeah, you're gonna collapse.
No energy.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, your body's just running off fumes from that point, and then at that point, like that's usually, I don't know. I usually probably sit around like 6 pounds about 3 days before the fight. But at that point, I'm fucking shredded, dude.
Right.
Like, you know, like you have no fat on your body. You're in shape. You're like, oh, like I'm like 6 pounds over still. Then the water comes in, you know.
And that's like, where the saunas and the dehydration part of.
Yeah.
So, what is it? So you do weigh in. What is it? The day before or 2 days before?
Day before.
I've been told you basically cut all the water weight out of you, or unless you're hitting the weight right out of the bat. But once you weigh in, it is hydration. Yeah. And what happens once you weigh in at the weight?
Oh, man.
What do you guys eat? Is it just throw everything into your body and get all the energy you can?
Heck no. So there's actually I used to do that in the amateur and stuff like that, because I obviously didn't have like the nutrition coach and like that kind of knowledge. Basically, like there's a certain like strategy into getting water back into your body. You can't just chug water bottles.
Eat watermelon.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. You need basic moistures and like basic sugars and electrolytes that are like your body needs. It's almost like jump starting your car again. You know what I'm saying? And you're kind of like you're sipping on water. Eventually, after a bottle or two of sipping, you know, an hour goes by, then you can start. Your lips aren't chapped as much anymore. You know,
right.
Your skin's not as dry. You're like, okay, I'm finally getting stuff back into me. But yeah, I usually stay away from no gluten, no fat. Usually, because I mean, at that point you haven't eaten for so long, your stomach could react to anything, and the last thing you want to do is like have a stomach ache or something going wrong in the middle of the fight the next day.
I've seen guys with like documentaries where they're trying to cut the weight and they're just draining themselves in the saunas and the jacuzzis, and they call it quits like an hour before like the weigh-in because they're dead.
Yeah, people, like, you can't even stand. I've been to that point where I would like, you know, I'll be in the bathroom like on the ground like kneeling. I'm like, dude, I can't. Like I'm in a fog. I can't. I haven't eaten 2 days, and I'm just dying. This is more in the amateurs, not really in the pros.
How do you like keep up with?
I don't know, man.
All your stuff. Like what? You kill yourself 3 days before, and now next thing you know, you rehydrate in a way, and then everything comes back.
Yeah, not really. I mean, like that's.
Like I feel like you're fighting it's like a disadvantage. You're training so hard and prepping yourself, and then you kill yourself, and now what? Now you're walking in kind of like at 50%.
Yeah, that's a golden question, man. But the other guy's probably doing the same thing. You know, he's trying to make the weight too. Usually.
So you say it's easier to lose it or gain it?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like if you're under the weight, or are you typically over the weight? Is really what it is.
Yeah, you always cut under. So like, but crazy thing is like,
it's never you're like 160, you need to get 170. You're like, oh cool, I get to eat some food this week.
Yeah, I mean, but like you look at guys who fight at like 178 pounds, like that next division up, or 168. Those guys are cutting from like 190, 100 and something pounds. So their body naturally, their frame is so much bigger than yours by 8 pounds. You know, that's a big difference.
Right.
They're taller, they're bigger, their shoulders are broader, they're stronger than you. And so you don't want to fight there. Unless like you decide to put on muscle and like spend the training camp that way. Some people do it, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it either, at some point in my career, but I like my weight that I'm at. But yeah, so you always go down, but like I weigh in like 160, 159.9, like flat. And then I'll just be like, I get 24 hours, and by the time the fight comes around, usually the next day, I'm around like 172 pounds, 173 pounds again. So I'll put 13 water weight and food, like 13 pounds to 12 pounds, like
that's crazy.
Overnight, yeah.
Speaking of that, you're gonna have to be doing that soon. You got a fight coming up in the future in September.
Yeah, September should be September 24th. Yeah.
You're able to give people some details when this will definitely be out beforehand, but you got a September fight, and you just explain the process you're going to be going through, prepping for that.
Yeah.
And everything with all your training stuff. But
yeah.
What's going on with the fight?
Yeah, I was just getting ready for it. So it's going to be in Texas, I believe, at the Texas A&M Stadium, September 24th. And yeah, it's going to be good. Right now we're just like we're locking in the opponents and stuff like that.
Trying to go 5-0?
Yeah, 5-0.
5-0, 4 knockouts is what he's looking into.
That's what we're looking for, man. So yeah, managers getting some contracts written up, and we're probably gonna be set on that. But yeah, it's gonna be sweet. So yeah, back to training. I'm essentially about 8 weeks out from now.
It's go time.
Yeah, so it's it's time to kick it in gear. So.
You gotta come in with the punch, the Manny punch.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and like if training with Manny and stuff like that, like I'm gonna be ready. I'll be more than ready.
This will be fun. This will be on TV, correct?
Yeah, it'll be on UFC Fight Pass.
Woo! So you guys will check it out, and I'll post about it when he's doing this. So
yeah, so
everyone can see. But speaking of that, we got some fun questions. 2 little fun questions. What is your guilty pleasure with food?
Candy. I'll kill candy. Like Swedish fish or something.
Ooh, Swedish fish.
Game over, man. It's like that stuff's awesome. Yeah, honestly, any kind of candy, man. Like,
are you an ice cream person?
Yeah, I am actually. I am.
Ice cream?
I do like ice cream a lot. I like sweets in general.
So Swedish fish and Sour Patch Kids and.
Yeah, I try to stay away from the dairy because if I eat like a bag of Skittles or something, I don't feel as bad as if I ate like a bowl of ice cream or something.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like it's different, but yeah, I sneak that stuff in every once in a while, but like I try not to. It's hard though.
What is your favorite burger place in LA?
Fat Burger. Done.
Fat Burger.
Dude, Fat Burger's so good. I mean, like, okay, here's the thing. You can, like, the reason I think it's so good, it's like, In-N-Out gets you, like, one size and stuff like that. And you can get, like, different sizes. But, like, Fat Burger, bro, you can get, like, a small, medium, large, extra large, XXL, XXXL. Dude, like, these things get up to so big, like, you will die. And they cook it right in front of you. The meat's so good. It's like, dude, it's like eating a baby angel. It is, like,
eating a baby angel.
It is life changing, man.
So what do you get? A 6x6?
No. Yeah, I mean,
supersize it to a 12x12.
Dude, I get those things huge, man. I to the point where I can't even finish it, but it's so good. It's amazing.
Also, Fat Burger out there, give them a 6x6 and
yeah, give me that sponsorship, Fat Burger. I want that. But yeah, I mean that and. There's this Korean place called Jesse Boy's. It's this Korean chicken sandwich. That place is pretty good too.
I gotta try that.
Yeah, it's in Hollywood, so.
Hollywood's got really good stuff.
Yeah, got some
people that aren't from here, you gotta come here. There's a lot of food, a lot of bad food too. I'll just say that, and a lot of healthy food, like very health nut, don't know what's in it type of food.
Yeah, like LA has a lot of healthy foods.
Yeah. But anyways, that was another episode of Mike for Success. Thanks, Eric, for coming on. This was super cool. I've never interviewed a boxer, nor do I have a boxer in my area of friends, and you're one of them now, and it's cool to experience everything that you go through and learning about the whole boxing sport and to watch you grow because you're on track. you're not losing, in my opinion, and I'm not letting you lose. So you better wake up tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. and train, because I do not want to see that L on your standings.
Hey man, I'm planning on that never happening. So I'm gonna get up and do that, man. I appreciate you for having me.
And for anyone that wants to check out him in the future, September fight is coming up, and I'll be posting about that. Also, what are your socials? What can people check you out on?
Yeah, so I'm Eric Priest on Instagram, EricPriest, but I have 2 C's because somebody took the tag. And then Eric Priest again on Twitter with 2 C's. So yeah,
Go follow it, guys. And if you want to DM him, just like I say to all my guests, seems like a nice person that will answer.
yeah,
If it's in a different language, maybe not, but maybe use Google Translate if you're those fans that he doesn't speak that right language. So,
yeah, man. I'll respond as much as I can for sure. Yeah.
well, thanks, Eric, for coming on. There's another episode of Mike for Success. You guys can check it on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor. Yeah, I keep forgetting. Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music. It's on Twitter, Instagram, all the socials out there, but our full podcast is on YouTube now. I want to give you guys a full picture, and you want to enjoy it. And I hope you guys learned a ton. And this was another episode of Mike for Success. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, man.